you can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark, wants to give a big shout out to all the truckers that listen to our show.
And again, I want to thank all you truckers out there, for doing your job. Without you, well, this Christmas season would really suck. You guys make sure that all the goodies get to the stores and stuff like that. So my wife can go out and spend a bundle for Christmas for 28 grandkids. What can I say? That's how many. Boy, I thought I was bad when I had 8 children, but 28. And that's not including my kids on top of it. And my wife, and buying myself something. I tell you what, at a certain point, I guess Christmas should be just for the little ones and not for the adults. Anyway, James, going into something I watched over the weekend, I can't remember which cable channel it was because I was so busy. I got my TV in my studio too. And I was so intrigued working on my studio, I didn't catch, the very end of the show at the very beginning of the show also. But they were having an interview and talking about how Christian and religion, how it got started, how about the pyramids and all this stuff. And it's been pretty much what I've been saying the whole time. They speculate at one point, when we had the cavemen, or even before the cavemen, aliens came down and were mining minerals off our planet. Like gold and silver. Gold and silver, regardless where you're at, is worth a lot. Not just because it's worth money. It's worth a lot, for example, in electronics, because gold doesn't draw virtually any current. Then followed up by silver. Virtually every computer, all computers, there's a lot of silver in your computer, believe it or not. But gold conducts less yet. They also figure maybe that these aliens were using gold around their planet for some type of cloaking device also. So they would come down to our Earth and they would mine it. And they had their technology. So they took their DNA and combined it with basically the prehistoric man and created more of a modern man. And then the first time they created man, they could not populate. In other words, they couldn't have children. It was all males. So then they went through and redesigned, supposedly, the DNA and because they needed a lot of slaves to do what they were doing. And what better way to get slaves is basically allowing, what they create, to fool around and have offsprings, and then those offsprings would be used as slaves also. So they were talking about how these aliens would come down, they structured the DNA to create a working force. And that's how, the pyramids and things like that got built in the first place. But going through, like I've been saying for years, you look at the Incas, the Mayas, and all these other, races of on our planet, right? What did they cherish more than anything? What did they have? What did they collect more than anything? It wasn't pewter. It wasn't brass. It was gold and silver. Now,
yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Why would they think gold is precious? They would have no idea. The Incas, the Mayas, and all these other ones, right? Why would they think gold is worth a lot and cherish and hoard it and all this stuff unless they knew something? And what the show was talking about, these aliens basically had these slave people mining for the gold. And that's how they realized gold is precious, right? You're mining it. You're dying for it, you die in the mines, being a slave labor for gold and stuff. that's how, in our minds, that gold became worth something and became precious. Otherwise, it could have been anything else. So it talks about how man originated. Now, that throws Adam and Eve to the curb right there. If this happened, if aliens originally came down on our planet and created a slave labor of humanoids, well, the theory about the tree, the snake, and Adam and Eve then couldn't have happened.
Well, pretty much that's what Zachariah Stitchin was saying. Those similar items, but but here's some facts. I like to deal with facts that I know of. You can go back 2, 3, 5,000 years, and different civilizations and cultures all had the same thing. From Egypt to Central America, Mesoamerica, and all around the world, and even China, was gold. And why would, people pretty much in a loincloth be, that would be their fascination all over the world. And supposedly they didn't have contact with each other either. So, that makes you think. Now, according to Stitchin, which is pretty much what you're touched on there, is they needed it for, maybe their atmosphere or maybe to build stuff with, because gold doesn't corrode and it's very very conduit. So maybe these are the reasons. And then, once these beings left, what would the races and the civilizations socialize with the beings that were there? And they would probably think they were gods coming from the sky, because think about it, if we were there even back then with just a cigarette lighter, they would probably think that was amazing.
Oh, yeah, they think you're as a god. Seriously, you flick that bic, they're going to think right away, oh, man, this is God. They're going to get down on their knees and worship you.
Right. So could you imagine coming down in a craft, and you probably got these things, wands that you're doing this and all kind of crazy stuff you can do that's probably mind-blowing to us today, much less them back then. So then once they left, they were probably like, boy, we want them back, so they kept on with the gold and making gold and cherished gold, and then building things to, maybe get them to come back, but they never came back.
Well, yeah, because you know what? It got to the point, probably getting the gold from our world was getting to the point it was not feasible anymore. Let's face it. I mean, even getting gold for the last couple hundred years has not been really feasible. It's not like maybe it was originally before it was all mined out and stole and taken off our world. So it comes to a point where, even if you have a million slaves all around the world looking for gold, it's not going to be producing enough gold for what they need. So they move on to another planet. So they're not going to bother coming back here. What are they going to come back for?
Right. And then who's to say at that same very time that there wasn't other different beings from different worlds that maybe was conflicting with them? Because there's especially the Indian Sanskrit speaks of the Himalayas, and there was a war in space with these things. And then you can actually coincide that with certain areas in North Africa and India where there's proof that there was some kind of thermonuclear war. That happened thousands of years ago. So, that's
tens of thousands of years ago.
Right, and we haven't had that technology supposedly up until the 1940s. So go figure.
Well, again, that's the whole point. I think we have been what do you call it? The planet has been obliterated and then started over again because there was always a group of certain amount of humanoids left to start repopulating the Earth. So it'd start over again. Just like if this asteroid hits in actually, I was reading it, I think it's 2012. Not
2022.
2022? Okay. 2022. Yep. Okay, if it did hit and it caused a nuclear winter and killed off most of the population, eventually that's going to go away. Okay, there's going to be some survivors, and then, of course, over tens of thousands of years, we'll start again. Don't forget, people's technology, if there is survivors, how many of them seriously know how to survive without their electronics, without their whole house, their TV, their toaster? How many people actually can go out there and, let's face it, start a fire without matches, even know how to, or how to be in the desert, for example, and how to get water to survive? 90.999% of the people wouldn't even know how to do it. That's what I'm saying. The only people who are going to survive are the ones that have been and know how to do that. But then the technology to do all the stuff that we could do is all gone. So you know what? It puts us back to the Stone Age to start over again. We've been rebooted. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I definitely think we've had events like that, because the thing is, along with what you're saying, let's think about it like this also. How many humans that would be left has the capability, and you're going to have a bunch of them, to build a factory to build just...
Oh, guess what? It's at 9:40, folks. Okay, at 9:40 every night, between 9:40 and 9:42, his Skype dies. Now, is somebody trying to say something? He needs to get a hold of his internet provider and say, hey, something is going on here. You know, something is going on. Now, I got a funny feeling. Is it Skype or is it James' internet provider at 9:40 to 9:42 every night, going on for the last 2 weeks? James, you need to make a phone call tomorrow and make a complaint saying at 9:40 to 9:42 every night, your internet drops out for a second.
Every night. It does it every time. This has been going on 6-7 days straight now.
No, it's 2 weeks now. 2 weeks. This is now going on the second week.
Yeah, you know what? I am going to call him, because that's just weird, because I don't know what's going on. It's the same time frame. It's got to be Skype or, like you just said, my provider.
One of the two, because I'm sitting here looking at my digital clock, right? And as you were talking, I was saying in my mind, okay, we got 2 minutes here. When is he going to drop out? Now or then? As soon as I thought about that, you dropped out. But going back to this, think about it. They wouldn't have the technology to build a manufacturing plant because they don't have the tools to do it. They don't have nothing left to do anything. So, by the time, the nuclear winter is over with and everybody's died off, who knows, they might even have to walk 1,000 or 2,000 miles away, because who knows what was going to be their terrain. Could it be all covered in ice and snow, 20 to 200 feet thick? Who knows? Or more? 2,000 feet thick? I mean, people are going to have to move. That's what happened in the last ice age. People moved. They had to, or they would have perished. So I don't think they're going to have the capabilities to restart factories and do all this stuff. It's just going to reboot the planet again.
Absolutely. And it will take thousands of years to even get back to that. You have to start all over again. You start over with the wheel and work your way up to...
I invented the wheel. Yes, that's a big one, huh?
Seriously, because think about it. Even the pyramids were built, they didn't even have the wheel. Think about that for a minute. And they built all those things precise with the certain holes that line up and with anywhere from 5 to 80-ton blocks that were cut out precisely and dragged 100, 200 miles away. You got to be kidding me with that one.
Well, there's somebody, and I'm not mentioning their name, and they have the right to voice their own opinion, right? But before I got my injury, it's something I tried. I had in my man cave a bag of sand, okay? And I put it in a plastic box, like a cat litter box, and packed it really tight. And then I kind of made a canal in it. And no matter how much water I put in there, it got equal to amount of the disbursement of the cat box, okay? The water would be absorbed into the sand. Okay?
Right.
In other words, it